Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses, and today we're having a look at a bike that was kicked out of Sherwood because it's called the Outlaw. Anyway, yes, it is the 2022 Sinnis Outlaw 125. Let's roll the intro and get cracking and all that stuff. Based heavily on the Sinnis Hoodlum 125, the Sinnis Outlaw is pretty much its twin. It uses exactly the same single-cylinder, four-stroke air-cooled engine, which develops 10.5 brake horsepower and 6.6 pounds-foot of torque. Therefore, its top speed is, well, we'll find out when we get it on the road. Being fuel injected by Delphi, this bobber is not a rocket, but it should have a smooth delivery. The ride as well will be determined by its right way up forks on the front and its twin piggyback shocks on the rear. So hopefully it'll be nice and smooth, but again, we'll find out later. You've also got a slight difference in tyres as far as the Hoodlum is concerned in regards to the Outlaw. You've got an 18-inch front, which is the same, and a 15-inch rear wheel with a 90 front tyre and a 140 back tyre, whereas the Hoodlum's only got a 130. What are you laughing at? It's not that funny. The tyres are made by CST and they are surrounding the discs nicely in a black and rubbery kind of way. Now, when we look at the brakes, you could be mistaken for thinking, oh, it's got ABS. But no, it doesn't. There's no ABS lights and there's no ABS on the front. But it does have that ring. Now, when you look at that, you do think ABS naturally, and there's a sensor coming off it as well. But it does have the traditional combined brake system, and that is actually a speed sensor for the fueling in the ECU. The speed sensor for the Speedo is actually on the front wheel. Disc size, you get a 280mm on the front and a 240mm on the rear, whereas the Hoodlum has got wavy ones. Now, when you look at these two bikes together, there is actually quite a lot of difference. The bars are very different. The clock is a bit more chintzy on the Outlaw. The seats, as you can see, you've got this hump here and then somewhere where the passenger could slip off the back, whereas on this one it's a bit flatter, so a lot more user friendly. If you're on L plates, of course, you can't have a passenger, but if you're not, you can. The number plate goes on the back here on the Hoodlum, but it's in the traditional style on the Outlaw, and it's got that sort of bobbery look. I don't know if I like the look of the exhaust. It's stainless steel, so it actually looks okay, but if it was chrome it would look awful. However, I think it works quite well in the stainless steel look. It's certainly better than the Hoodlum one, which is black and got that weird sort of angle at the top, which I complained about 5 years ago, I think. The grips are also different on here. They are easier to hold, but not as soft as they are on the Hoodlum. But I think more ergonomically friendly for your hands, so that works quite well. And the badge on the tank is different. The only similarity is they're both silver and they've both got an O and an upside down M. That's it. There are, of course, lots of other differences. The levers are very different, and the foot plates versus foot pegs, they are a very different bike. They're just styled similarly. The Outlaw, like the Hoodlum, still looks pretty well built. Like all bikes, as long as they're looked after, they should stay black without the rust showing through, especially now considering this one has a stainless steel exhaust, and that is a fantastic improvement, whereas on that you'd have had to pay for the Toro exhaust to get rid of that chintzy black stuff. However, all joking aside, I am quite impressed by the way it looks, and now we're going to take it out on the road and see if I'm impressed by the way it rides. So let's gear up and get out. You know what I mean. Okay, so we're off, and how does it ride? Well, initially pulls away fine, clutch feels good, nice and light, turns the corner pretty okay, visibility out of the mirrors is not bad, gear change is nice and smooth, yeah, it changes gear up through the gears quite nicely, no jolts, it is in kilometres around the top there, miles on the middle, so you have to look at the small numbers, not the big numbers. They may change that for the future. Mirrors are okay, as I say, it's decent visibility. Left one needs a bit of adjustment by the looks of it. But I've got about 90%, 95% visibility, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Sits on the road okay, a little bit jittery I would say, possibly a little bit jittery on the rear suspension, like it's kind of jitter, but nothing horrendous, it's not going to shake me apart. But yeah, it's comfortable enough, seat's nice and comfortable, rides nicely, say up through the gears, no problems, no dramas, doesn't feel like it's holding back, it pulls away quite nicely. It's not a lightning rocket, don't get me wrong, but you know, I mean, it got me up to 40 miles an hour very well, didn't feel sluggish, I'm quite pleased with that, to be honest. Okay, so bearing in mind it hasn't done a lot of miles, let's see how this fares when I go around the roundabout. As I say, it pulls out quite nicely, no worries there. Around the roundabout, nice and smooth. I see tiny bit of jitter from that rear suspension. And when you put your front brake on, it dives a little, but it's not bad, don't get me wrong. And it turns the corners quite nicely, yeah, and picks up easily. You feel quite stable on the roads. When lorries go past you don't get buffeted out of the way, so that feels quite nicely planted. What I'm going to do now is a little speed test, and I'm going to take this onto the dual carriageway and see how it fares at motorway stroke dual carriageway, or at least single track speeds. So I'm hoping to get a decent speed. Onto the roundabout here, it's a little bit damp, but shouldn't be too bad. Round the roundabout, here we go, and on to the dual carriageway, and go! Well, again, so it picks up okay, yeah. Pleased with that. Doesn't feel like it's going to bottom out on the revs. Up to 50 and beyond. It's a struggle from 55 up to 60, but it looks like it's going to get there. So yeah, it will do 60 miles an hour. So no complaints there whatsoever as far as the will it do more than 50 miles an hour. Well, yes it does. For an air-cooled engine in 2021 with Euro 5-edness, that's okay. I'm happy with that. 60 miles an hour, good. What I'm going to do now is whip it around the other side and see if we get a little bit more going downhill. Round we go again. Holds around about quite nicely. The tyres are fairly new, so I don't want to go into the slippy stuff. Takes it quite well, and go into the corner. Slight downhill, so it should have a bit of an advantage. See if we can get this over 60. Well, it's pulling up there quite nicely. Getting up to the road jam, we're at 60. I'm happy with that. 63, yeah, 63. Happy with that. Good. Wow, there you go. It will do 60 and beyond. What more can I say? Yes, quite pleased with that. I mean, again, it's needs running in. It's a air-cooled bike, and yeah, well, thanks, Money. So there we go, we're back. What do I think of that? Well, as I said in the video, it rides really nicely. As far as the seat's concerned, very comfortable. Suspension wise, I mean, even sitting on here, look, you can see it's got quite a bit of bounce in the front forks, and it's a little bit jittery on the rear suspension. Kind of would like that to be a bit smoother. It rides very similarly to the Hoodlum, to be honest. There's not a lot of difference at all. However, I much prefer the handlebars on this because they are better laid out. It's more of a bobber style, which obviously, because it goes with the fact that it looks like a bobber. And your handlebars aren't here like they are on the Hoodlum, which I'm not really a fan of personally. The grips feel nice. Mirrors, good visibility. Tyres feel fine, bearing in mind it's done hardly any miles. It takes the corners really well. I don't really have anything else negative to say. The gear change is fantastic. Really pleased with the way it changes gear. Brakes, they work like CBS brakes should. They stop you when you need to be stopped, and when you don't, they don't. Other than that, the dash is nice and clear, even though obviously it's in kilometres for the big numbers and miles per hour for the small numbers. I wonder if they'll change that when it becomes mainstream available in the UK. Who knows? Obviously that means the speedo, or the mileometer, clocks up in kilometres as well by the looks of it. I like these little gear indicator numbers on here, just like they had on the Hoodlum. That is a nice touch, I think, especially for a new rider who's just getting into 125, so I think that's quite nice for them. Switch gears are generic switch gears. They work what more can I say? I don't have anything. I mean, obviously the OCD-ness of the offset filler cap is annoying, but there you go. A lot of them do that these days. Other than that, it feels nicely put together. There's no squeaks and knocks and bumps, apart from that little jitter from the suspension, but you don't hear it, you just feel it. Other than that, I've got nothing else to say. I like the way it's laid out with these hoses down here. It's very neatly put together, just little finishing touches, does it quite well. The levers look pretty good and they feel quite substantial, you know, nothing feels like it's going to snap or bend, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Other than that, the only dislike I think I've got is that little bit of jitter from that suspension. Other than that, I don't really have anything negative to say. I was pleasantly surprised that it got to 60 and slightly beyond. I was expecting it to be sort of 50, 55. So once it's run in, I can see it doing 65, no dramas whatsoever, to be honest. So there you go. So now I shall get my gear off and I'll tell you how much it is. Now the bike, of course, does have LED lights on the rear and on the front, except for the main light. That is a traditional bulb. And the instrument cluster is also very simplistic, where you've got speedo, no rev counter, and the telltales on here and gear indicator down here. Like that, you see. Now when you're directly behind the bike, let's see how clear those lights are. Now you've got a few LEDs in there, obviously your indicator on, and there's your brake light. How does that look on the camera? Let me know in the comment section below what you think about that. So, price, as we are now in the increasingly priced world, thanks to Euro 5-ness and COVID and its association with ramped up shipping costs and all that nonsense, this bike, the Outlaw, comes in at £2,799 on the road with a 2-year parts and labour warranty, whereas the Hoodlum is £2,499 on the road, so just a couple £100 more, £300 more. So what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you have one on order? Do you have a bike? Do you have the Hoodlum? What do you think? What do you reckon with this in comparison to the high-sung GV125? Let me know in the comment section also, and one day we'll get that back and do a review of them together. That'd be nice. So yes, coming next week we've got that Faster, the electric bike, so stay tuned for that. Then after that we've got those two Mondials, the Motard and the Enduro, so stay tuned for those as well, please. And I'll see you again before Christmas, so don't worry about that. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully, especially in this warm weather. It's weird, it's quite mild today, but have fun. Bye bye.